Guys, welcome to In Conversation with. Your girl Nomcebo is back, and it is Women's Month. We are celebrating women with women. I told you every week I'm going to come up with an amazing, phenomenal woman who is doing amazing things. This week I have someone very special for you, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, her business, and why she's such a phenomenal woman. So help me welcome Candice.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to the call.
Of
The amount
course.
of work that you do, like the time that we have is not even enough.
Right. But it's an honor to be here. I think when people ask me, like, tell us what you do and why you're the Minister of Menstruation.
Yeah.
I always just go, it's a heavy title to carry, but I lead it with passion. I always tell people that when you're in social impact work, you are never being led by money first. I think, yes, it's important that the bills are paid and that people are paid for their time, but you actively have to wake up to fulfill a need to service other people, right? And so with the work that I do with curators, we go around the country, we eradicate period poverty through menstrual education. We do it in a very fun, empowering way. And ultimately, it's inner child work for me because it's work that I wished younger Candice had when she started her period. I always ask myself, what would it take for us to see society speak openly about menstrual health and us to speak openly about sexual reproductive health and something that is inevitable, which is growing up. And since then I've just been very passionate about it.
The way you're so passionate about it, I read it in the title, Minister of Menstruation. When I first saw that, I was like, there's a story behind that title, and it's such a boss title. When did you decide that minister is the right word for it?
It was, I founded Curate in 2018, only started the workshops in 2019. And it was through the momentum of doing one workshop and using social media to put the work out there that people were like, okay, this girl's actually actively on the ground changing the narratives around menstrual health in a positive way. A friend of mine actually was just, as we're texting and we're just checking in on each other, said, you know what, you're actually doing very important work, better work than our actual ministers. You should be known as the Minister of Menstruation.
Oh, I love it.
And that just shows the importance of having a strong support system, right? Beyond just family, having really good friends who see your vision and support you through and through. And I was very, very grateful for the fact that he was just like, you're the minister now. And he was like, change your handles, change everything. And I did that in 2019. And not knowing how perfect the timing was, because as soon as I changed my handles and I proclaimed I'm the Minister of Menstruation, COVID hits at the end of beginning of 2020. So obviously our momentum of being on the ground at the workshops means that it had to come to a pause. But the online work of advocacy and awareness was through the Minister of Menstruation then started to grow, right? So I think sometimes what we shouldn't what we shouldn't neglect is when you are set to your plan A, which is your passion and your dreams, the universe will always send you the right signals that you're on the right path. And I think as a lot of young women entrepreneurs, we often get very caught up in the, what if I'm not doing the right thing? Will this make money? Always ground yourself in, am I doing the thing that sparks my joy? Am I living out my passion? Because when you're grounded from that, then the rest will be sorted out.
Definitely. Yeah. I love what you are saying. For a lot of people, COVID was the worst thing that could ever happen. But it also depends on your eye. How are you looking at it? It created an opportunity. Online before COVID was great. You could get some work done there, but you were still obviously very big in being on the ground. This is a conversation that I believe that you want that interaction when we're having these conversations, especially with schools and all of those things. But now COVID, for someone else, they're going to be like, my business is done.
Right.
But you saw it as an opportunity for you to build the online side of it. Would you say that it's important for you as a business person or just as a person in general to always not look at the situation as it is, but also find the opportunity in whatever?
100%. You have to have a very optimistic mindset.
Yes.
yes, obviously, if your advisors and your team are saying, look, the situation is not looking great, then you will have to make a calculated decision. But it's based on the fact that if you are the founder and the director of your organization, and this is started by a dream of yours, and you are a visionary, you'll always see and push through the boundaries and the barriers. I can sit here rather and say, when I started Curate, when I found the organization, I started it being unemployed. I was, I think at the time, an au pair, and I only started tutoring at Wits. I didn't know the direction of my life in terms of where would this end up, but I knew that this is what I wanted to do.
Yes.
I knew that I wanted to be interacting with people. I wanted to create some form of impact, and I wanted to do it differently from how how everyone else was doing it. Because yes, everyone was raising awareness about, let's have a period product drive, let's donate it, but then not realizing the impact that the education and products come with that.
Yes, it's not just the products, the education is very important.
The generational impact it leaves behind when a young girl who's carrying a pack of pads goes and says, I had such a positive experience with this organization, and I now see my periods in a positive light. This young girl becomes a mother to a girl child, and therefore that is the positivity she's instilling. That's generational, right?
True.
And so I realized the power and the impact that this organization had purely through just an idea. And what I wanted to encourage people is that there's always a part of you that always says, I know what I've always wanted to do when I was younger.
Yes.
And that is speaking to your younger child, right?
True.
So you cannot suppress your younger child saying, if you wanted to be a Formula One driver and you're a woman, be a Formula One driver. Because that's possible, right? That's what you want. You'll be in spaces where you'll be sitting and you're like, this isn't for me. Because your spirit is telling you, this is not where I'm meant to be. You're not supposed to be, yeah. So you owe it to yourself to go with plan A. Because what often happens is we're so caught up in, this is the dream I want to have, but let me just have a backup plan.
Just in case.
Just in case. I'm going to study that degree just in case. But you know very well that cooking is what you want to do. Baking is your passion. Yeah. But you've just studied an economics degree just in case. So it's not to say don't go and educate yourself, because maybe that degree can help with the cooking business or the baking business. But what I feel that Plan B does is it opts us to fail when we're destined for greatness.
Yes.
So we all are born with that dream of ours to say, I want to do this. But then we just say, I'll do plan B to opt out from plan A.
Because you're so scared that plan A might not work.
Exactly.
I love what you are saying. There's something that I read. I can't remember who said it, but it said, always remember the young child in you, because she knew what she wanted to be.
Yeah.
But somehow the world beat it out of her.
Yes.
And she ended up forgetting. So every time when you're not sure, just go back to those days. Remember when we were young.
And we just, and I think it's also simple joys of reminding ourselves that we're human beings and not human doings. So being mindful in that, okay, I know what sparks my joy. And I think Marie Kondo, she says this thing where she's like, if it doesn't spark your joy, declutter it from your life. And she's an interior designer. So she would literally look at a place and be like, but it applies to our own lives.
Yeah.
The people, the experiences, the job we're in. If it's not sparking your inner joy, declutter it, right?
It will somehow come back and haunt you if you don't do that. Because we're so good at knowing that this does not spark my joy.
Exactly.
But what are we doing about it?
We're suppressing our inner voice because we just have to go along with what other people's dreams for us are. And I think as women, we are conditioned to believe that we need to suppress that inner voice of ours because we need to make everyone else happy. And I think because we're in Women's Month, we need to let that go.
It has to go.
We need to live accordingly. And I always find this, when you are your happiest self, you give the best self to everyone else.
Yes.
So you cannot give your best self if you find that you're not chasing your actual dream, if you're not chasing your actual passion, if you're finding yourself in spaces where you're being minimized and looked down upon, where your psychological safety is not prioritized, right? We are always pushing for this thing of we need to get work, but we're never actually pushing for quality work. Quality implying I'm taken care of. My needs are taken care of. I don't have to overperform to prove a point that because I'm in a male-dominated industry, I have to overperform and be out of character. No. And that is the lived realities of what a lot of women, especially women entrepreneurs, go through, the highs and the lows. And I find that because of the nature of the work that I'm in, where I speak about menstrual health, I don't have to overperform.
No.
I cannot be invalidated on an experience that I personally go through.
And besides, they don't know this experience.
They don't know this
how
experience.
can you even get involved in it?
Exactly. But what I love doing is, especially when we have men in the room or on the table, is I say, because we're talking about something that you've not yet experienced, step into our shoes for just 5 minutes and experience period pain. That changes their perspective completely, because they then go, I can't drive with this, I can't think with this, I can't even do this presentation like this. That for me is how we build a period positive world, right? Because we can't be talking about eradicating period poverty and leaving it only to women and girls and people who menstruate responsibility.
Not when the society involves the men as well.
Exactly. So I'm really grateful for the fact that my work speaks to an industry where Curate is being the pioneer in this space, but I don't have to overperform. But I'm also mindful that not a lot of women have that privilege. But what I'm reminding people is that you are never your best self if you're not connected to yourself, like your wiser self. If you're not actively knowing that this is what I want and this is making me creative and compassionate and all those things.
Yes. And whatever it is that you are, there's nothing wrong with it. I think we've lived in the society that told us there's something wrong with you. That's why some of us will feel the need to either overperform or be part of the clique or be part of the gang. What makes you different is what makes you beautiful. It's what makes you who you are. So I love what you are saying. We should own it. And when I speak to people about this conversation, and especially when I speak to young girls, I always say, you know, that's your superpower.
Yeah.
It's one thing that they'll never understand, but you know it fully. And I love what you said also. You putting them in the shoes for them to experience what it's like, and they say, I can't do this with this, I can't do this, and we've been doing it, we are doing it, we're still going to continue doing it. That for me is a superpower, because I don't believe that our menstrual cycle stops us from doing anything that we need to do. It does not. It's not a deficiency. There's nothing wrong with us as women. It's part of who we are, and we need to embrace it.
I agree. And it's funny how it is society that conditioned us to feel that we should be ashamed around our periods. And it's purely because of where the menstrual blood comes out of, which comes out of the vagina, which is a biological reproductive organ, right?
A child comes out of there.
The
most biggest blessing.
Bodily discharge comes out of there. Bodily discharge comes out of our nose. It's the same thing, right? And so because we have, conditioned women and young girls and people who menstruate to feel ashamed, therefore, as a result, we also portray that in the spaces that we're in, even when we're on our period. In the workplace, we don't speak openly about these things. And I am always advocating that there should be period positive spaces in workplaces, in schools, in wherever, where you walk in and there's a menstrual health dispenser, you get your period products. Or you go into a corporate space and there's a vending machine and you have everything you need to focus. Because we can't be ostracized or made to feel bad, rather, when we're on our period for something we have no control over. I think a majority of us, if we had control of our period, we would choose not to have it because of just the immense symptoms we go through. But we have to embrace it for what it is.
And the negativity around the community that we get regarding our periods. I can't believe in 2024 it's still such an uncomfortable conversation. I'm like, guys, are we not evolving together?
Imagine.
What is happening? Imagine. Can I just say it openly that that's what's happening and there's nothing wrong with that? So that's, for me, is why the work that you do is very important, because I believe it's taking a step further, liberating those who need the knowledge. I love how you walk around in the office with your jackets. Guys, she's got this special jacket that just tells the full story, and she wears it like such a boss. So it's things like that that are going to change the narrative. And I love the work that you do and how it's changing the narrative. And I know it's not the only work that you do. God, she's an award-winning phenomenal woman. The work that she's doing, in not just for women, but the community at large. You are such a people's people. You know your passion, and you were like, I'm sticking with my passion. I'm just gonna go with my passion. I love how you light up the room. It's women celebrating women. So this is me celebrating you. We haven't known each other that long, but I feel you when you're around. I don't have to see you. I can feel you. You own what you do, and that for me can only stem from passion.
100%.
Our days are not the same. One day is just like, Lord, why am I here? But I've never seen that with you. You carry the work that you do. You've become the work that you do. And because of that, I know you've got great tips for us as women as we go through this amazing journey that we call our periods. What are like the top tips that you've figured since you've been in this space and working with the women and the girls and everyone? What are like the pro tips that you know? I listened to one of your videos when you were talking about ibuprofen, and I was like, guilty.
We pop ibuprofen like it's candy. And through empowerment, you don't realize that when you pop those things on an empty stomach, it creates ulcers. And that has a major impact on your gut health. And what we also don't realize is your gut health is tied to how your period treats you. So if you're not eating healthily in terms of like you're not being consistent with it, because everyone will have their bad days. I won't even say bad days, not perfect days. I mean, I will try and be consistent in having mostly protein and vegetables, but there's days when I'm like, I just want fries and a chocolate cake.
Just give me chocolate.
Just give me chocolate. You know, emotional eating is a real thing, right?
It is.
But what I realized is those things are tied to how then your cramps treat you, because your gut health is tied to your cramp, abdomen, lower abdomen. And so the one tip I would say is watch what you eat. And not just physically what you're eating, but also what you're eating mindfully. What content are you consuming that makes you perceive a certain way, perceive yourself in a certain way? The content that you consume in terms of how you are meant to be in society, and content that you consume that doesn't make you feel like you need to compare. I think comparison, yes, can be a thief of joy, but it also should more than anything be a motivator to say, it's not that I want to get like this person. It's just I want to be in a space where I too can publish my wins, because it's my wins according to my journey, right?
That's true.
I think we need to understand that being human means feelings of jealousy and ego will come up, but it's a matter of how do you then tie that into your own journey. So
what are they saying to you about you?
So watch what you eat. Is this? Oh, okay. Sorry. Watch what you eat, what you consume, who you surround yourself with, because then that fills your cup. I find myself in a space where when I have my bad days, yes, it might look like I'm okay, but I actively am aware of what I need to do in order for me to be good. It's the same principle that you have when your battery is low, you have to charge it. Same thing with me. If I find that I'm disassociating a lot, or I'm not as social butterfly as I am, then it means I need to take some space in reconnecting to myself. Because everything that I do is from my passion and my heart. And if I find myself not fully being in something, then it means my spirit is telling me that we need to recharge again. So be mindful of who you are. Spend some time with people who make you very happy, like stupidly happy. You know, when you're laughing so much that your tummy hurts, spend time with those people. Those are your people. But also, more than anything, just hold yourself to account gently. Don't be hard on yourself. I think there's days when I'm like, oh, this day didn't go according to plan. But then I look at what I actually did. I'm like, no, but I worked.
You did something.
You did. So give yourself the credit that you deserve, and just be kind. Be kind to yourself.
Not just to yourself, but to everyone.
To everyone.
Guys, kindness
is so key.
So key. I love that. Like I said, it's Women's Month. We're celebrating women with women. Any empowering words to leave with the women? We are going to wrap up August and people are going to forget about us, but what should we keep with ourselves?
I mean, firstly, our periods just don't happen in Women's Month, so the conversations still have to go on. But more than anything, I think one thing I wish someone told me when I was younger is that, Candice, what you go through every month is normal. And you shouldn't be terrified by it. More than anything, you should seek support. And whatever you want on your period, get it for yourself, because this is a time of rest. The word period means rest. So implement that and don't feel ashamed to do it. any like other empowerment, encouragement tips, I think really, really stick to your plan A.
I love that.
And be unapologetic about it.
Yes.
Just be passionate, be confident, and say, this is what I want. And if people are trying to force you and mold you to do something that they think is best for you,
no.
you tell them politely, that isn't my plan A. Period.